folks, my name is Jenna, and today I'm going to tell you about all the books that I am hoping to read in the summer. Hopefully. So yeah, I have a massive couple of stacks of books here. That is probably extremely wishful thinking, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of books that I would really like to get through this summer. My spring TBR. Let's not talk about my spring TBR. But yeah, for my summer TBR, I've got a mixture of books for my monthly requirements or hopeful requirements at this juncture. And then I've got a bunch of books that are, to me, just feel like they would be good for the summer, and then also a bunch of books that I'm like, I really need to get to these finally, so I'm gonna put them on this summer TBR because I really need to get through them. First, let's go with my seasonal requirements. Season, pretty much, or every month, basically. I want to try to get through each month a classic, a nonfiction, something for my nightstand of shame, i.e. books that I started reading and put a bookmark in and did not get back to, and also books that are left over from a banned book challenge that I really attempted to do last year and sadly did not get all the way through. So that's where we're at currently. So first we'll have the books that are classics for this season. One of them is technically a classic, but I usually categorize it under just straight up plays. It is Twelfth Night by William Shakespeare. For some reason, I don't know, Shakespeare, it always seems like a good time to read him in the summer. I did read Macbeth in January or February, I think, and had a pretty good time with that. So I want to get through Twelfth Night as well. If you have ever watched She's the Man, it is very loosely based off of Twelfth Night. Basically a mix-up of gender-bending shenanigans with romance at the heart of it, I believe, is basically what Twelfth Night, what is going on in there. I don't know a ton about what's up, but I'm pretty okay with going into Shakespeare not being super informed. So that's first up on the list. Next up is another book that I got recently, and it is Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut. This says that it is following the aging writer Kilgore Trout, who is a favorite character of Kurt Vonnegut's, as he finds to his horror that a Midwest car dealer is taking all of his books as truth. And apparently it's just one of Vonnegut's usual looks at and commentary at war, sex, racism, success, politics, and pollution. So probably in for a pretty good time. I recently read The Sirens of Titan, and I have mixed feelings. I'll talk about that in my May wrap-up. But yeah, I've heard a lot about this one. This has been on my to-read list for a long time, so excited to get into that. And next up on classics, I would like to read Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I've had this on my TBR before and didn't really get through it, so I'm hoping to actually do that this time. I have heard tons about this book for years. This is basically following Pip. He's an orphan. While he's visiting his family's graves, he's grabbed by an escaped convict who terrorizes him into stealing food and a file to cut his shackles at home. His sister beats him and scolds him frequently. Her husband, a blacksmith, is the only one who loves and protects him. His one ambition is about to become Joe's apprentice, and that changes because he is summoned by Miss Havisham, a wealthy recluse, to her decaying manor to play with her beautiful ward, Estella. Estella insults him repeatedly for his coarseness, but Pip falls in love with her and resolves to educate himself and improve himself, even though he believes he will never have the wealth or manners to win Estella's heart. Lawyer seeks out Pip and Joe with news, and anonymous benefactor plans to bequeath Pip a great fortune. Pip is to proceed to London to be educated in the language, manners, and style of a gentleman. As he climbs aboard a London coach, unaware of two things: the new world may be even more dangerous than the old, and he hasn't seen the last of Abel Magwitch, who was the criminal who terrorized him as a kid. It says this takes a hard look at English society during the Industrial Revolution and the true cost of upward mobility. So another one of those societal commentaries by Dickens. Yeah, I've heard a lot about this over the years and wanted to finally get around to reading it, and for real this time. I know I've been caught up in romance land, but I think I am starting to drift into wanting to get into classics again. And then the last classic I wanted to get to also is on my list, most specifically for reading in June, hopefully, because I wanted to have some books, specifically like queer-focused books to read for Pride Month, even though I have been reading a lot of like mostly gay hockey romances over the past couple of months, and I've been reading mostly those, and then I also have a couple of other like audiobooks locked in for this summer as well. I'm in the middle of one right now, which is a male romance as part of a series. So that I'm listening to right now, but I also looked up a bunch of sapphic romances and bookmarked them because I don't know if I have enough minutes to listen to an entirety of any of them in June, but I do have them locked in for the next couple of months. But I did want some mixed in here. I have some that, like I said, that I've already read, but I have a couple kind of spaced out in here that I'm gonna try to slot in for June, but you know, you can read them any time of the year, but I was just trying to squeeze them in specifically for this month. One of them is also a classic, and it is Go Tell on the Mountain by James Baldwin. This is about a young man. Does it say what his name is? No, it doesn't. Well, that's good. But it's about a 14-year-old boy's like self-discovery. It is set in March 1935. He makes some discoveries in terms of his identity as a stepson of a minister of a storefront Pentecostal church in Harlem. And so this book dives into place, like this boy's place in the world, in Harlem, in his own family, and really goes into identity, sexuality, and spirituality, and how sometimes those are at wars with each other. And yeah, it's supposed to be a really intense book, and as someone who also struggles with, or has struggled with spirituality and stuff in the past, I feel like this is going to be a lot. But I am excited to dive into another James Baldwin. I have previously read a fictional and a non-fiction book of his, so excited to get into another fiction book. And then for non-fiction, I thought summertime, you know, I'm having some mixed feelings about history and this country and everything. But I thought, you know what, let's read some history text. Let's go for it. So I have one, I read this several years ago, but I not that long ago got the sequel to it, so I figured let's do that. It's Rise to Rebellion by Jeff Shara. It is a novel of the American Revolution, so it's basically like, it's been like a lot of research into like different documents and things from the Revolutionary War. So this author has basically taken those writings and documents and everything like that and crafted this story and really breathing life into these real life figures back in the past who lived and fought and everything, and basically gives them life. It ends up reading more like a novel than a history text. I can't say everything about it is probably 100% true, but he did do a lot of research, so I know it's like, I think it's nonfiction, but also historical fiction, but it's on the line, basically, I guess, between the two. So, yeah, this is about the revolution, or rather, the rise to the Revolutionary War, and like I said, I read this several years ago, and I was really fascinated by it. And then the next one is The Glorious Cause, which is the sequel, which actually covers the entirety of the Revolutionary War. I am not 100% sure if it goes into afterwards, like the start of like the building of everything, but it at least covers the entirety of the revolution. So, yeah, figured pretty good reading, probably, for these. I don't know what I'm hoping out of these. I guess I'm hoping to, I don't know, feel better about anything. I don't know. I guess I could just watch Hamilton for the 5 millionth time. But, yeah, so those are on my list. And then nonfiction. This one actually, it's not only nonfiction, it's also from my nightstand of shame, because I set it aside a few months ago and didn't get back to it. It is The Making of Middle-earth, the worlds of Tolkien and The Lord of the Rings. So this is, I talked about this months ago. It's a really cool book I got for, I can't remember anymore, I'm pretty sure it was Christmas. But yeah, so this is basically all about Tolkien creating The Lord of the Rings and the entire, like, Middle-earth and everything. It's got lots of images in here. It's really informative, wicked cool. I got that much through it, so I'm hoping to finish reading it. Which again brings me to the rest of the nightstand of shame. One of these on here is Maniac Magee by Jerry Spinelli. I started reading this for like last year. I think it was like not even this previous like middle grade March. I think it was last year's middle grade March. I started reading this for. This is an old childhood classic, like favorite of mine. And yeah, started it, didn't finish reading it. Why? It's so easy. But yeah, anyway, I got that much through it. I plan on reading it. Maniac Magee is a very unique boy who was an orphan. He ran away from the home that he lived with family and decided, and basically just hated the division in his family so much that he eventually ran away from it all and found a town that was divided and tried his best to bring everyone together. I don't know, it made a super big impact on me when I was a kid. Loved this book. So, yeah, happy to get into that again. Another one for my nightstand of shame is Mask of the Deer Woman by Lori L. Dove. This is a mystery novel. It is following ex-Chicago detective Carrie Starr. She ends up going back to the reservation where her dad was raised because the tribe there needs a new marshal. In the past decade, a lot of young women have disappeared from the res. Some are dead, some are gone. A new college student is now missing, and she ends up investigating. And basically, she is dealing with the loss of her own daughter, trying to figure out this investigation, and she's also being haunted by the vision of the Deer Woman. I started reading this, last year, I think, and I was having a hard time with it because I found that I didn't really like the main character very much. She just, I don't know, she seemed kind of unlikable, but I'm thinking that's probably the point of it. She is really deeply struggling, and maybe that's part of the point, is her deeply struggling, and it's like a maybe a redemption story on top of like an investigation trying to do right by these missing girls. So yeah, gonna get back into this. And then we're moving on to other books. I got one more of my nightstand of shame, technically. It is Time After Time, which also counts as another book specifically set aside for June, because this is a sapphic romance with some wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, but more like probably reincarnation stuff going on. This is about two girls who are going to the local college. One of them has always been drawn to this Victorian mansion, and she ends up spending her grandmother's inheritance, or her inheritance from her grandmother, on purchasing this house and trying to get work done on it rather than on college like she was supposed to spend it. But she has always loved this house, been drawn to it, and decides to buy it. And then she ends up enlisting a classmate's help in helping her restore this Victorian mansion, and this classmate has also kind of been drawn to it as well. And they're finding that their lives are paralleling two women from the 1920s, a society girl and a maid in her household who fell in love but could not be together. And yeah, so it seems like either wibbly wobbly timey wimey or reincarnation stuff happening on in here. But yeah, I thought perfect book to get back into. I did not get that far into it when I started it, like last year, I think. So perfect for that time of month, and also it's like that timey-wimey stuff that's always very interesting, so I think that will be a good time as well. Then I have my banned books. We have Lady Chatterley's Lover. It's come around again. This is banned in so many countries because of its explicit nature. I have read a couple of the spicy scenes already, but it gets spicier from here. It was banned for indecency. Yeah, this is about a Lady Chatterley whose husband tasks her with finding someone to impregnate her because he was hurt in World War I and he can no longer help procreate, but he needs an heir to hopefully one day love and care about his family estate and keep it in the family. And so yeah, she's has to go find someone to impregnate her so this can happen, and things get spicy. So there's that. Then also The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This is about a girl named Star. She has a foot in two worlds, kind of. She has her life in her very diverse neighborhood, their family and friends that live there, and then she has the all mostly white rich prep school that she attends, and she's kind of just walking that line in between these two kind of worlds up until the point that a childhood friend of hers is gunned down by the police in front of her, and that like changes everything. And then last on the banned books is The Diary of Anne Frank, who was a young girl who went into hiding with her family and some neighbors in World War II. And this is her writing about life during World War II, prior to hiding, and also during hiding, and her thoughts about the world that I have heard are so uplifting, despite the horrors and the uncertainty that she was probably hearing about and imagining. So this was such a rough time from what I know about it, but yeah, also on the list. And then we get into the other random books for this summer. So first off, I've got one horror, maybe, if I feel like a horror. It is Night Shift by Stephen King. This is one of his short story collections. Then I've got some fantasy. I decided to go with some Pratchett. So there is Guards, which this one is about a noble dragon that has appeared in Discworld's greatest city, so Ankh-Morpork, or Ankh-Morpork. I'm terrible at pronouncing it. Not only does this unwelcome visitor have a nasty habit of charbroiling everything in his path, in rather short order it is crowned king. Meanwhile, back at Unseen University, an ancient and long-forgotten volume, The Summoning Dragons, is missing from the library shelves. To the rescue comes Captain Vimes, Constable Carrot, and the rest of the Night Watch, who, along with other brave citizens, risk everything, including a good roasting, to dethrone the flying monarch and restore order to Ankh-Morpork before it's burned to a crisp. I have heard that this is one of the best. I have been told by a couple of friends that this is their favorite Pratchett ever, so really excited to read that, and then really excited to get back to my gals, the witches, for the next one, which is Witches Abroad. So this says, once upon a time there was a fairy godmother named Desiderata who had a good heart, a wise head, and poor planning skills, which unfortunately left the Princess Emberella in the care of her other, not quite so good and wise godmother when death came for Desiderata. So now it's up to Magret Garlic, Granny Weatherwax, and Nanny Og to hop on broomsticks and make for far distant Genoa to ensure the servant girl doesn't marry the prince. But the road to Genoa is bumpy, and along the way the trio of witches encounters the occasional vampire, werewolf, and falling house. This is a fairy tale after all. The trouble really begins once these reluctant foster godmothers arrive in Genoa and must outwit their power-hungry counterpart, who will stop at nothing to achieve a proper happy ending, even if it means destroying a kingdom. So, shenanigans abound, obviously. And then this one, I kind of categorize as a fantasy. It's more like a superhero one, so I don't know. It's like between fantasy and sci-fi, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, action, maybe. It is Not Your Sidekick by C.B. Lee. This is a place where superpowers are common, internships are complicated. Just ask high school nobody Jessica Tran. Despite her heroic lineage, Jess is resigned to a life without superpowers and is merely looking to beef up her college applications when she stumbles upon the perfect paid internship, only it turns out to be for the town's most heinous supervillain. On the upside, Abby, whom Jess thinks may have a secret of her own, on the upside, she gets to work with her longtime secret crush, Abby, whom Jess thinks may have a secret of her own. Then there's the budding attraction to her fellow intern, the mysterious M, who never seems to be in the same place as Abby, but what starts as a fun way to spite her superhero parents takes a sudden and dangerous turn when she uncovers a plot larger than heroes and villains altogether. So, also, possibly appropriate for June, and sounds like a cool take on like heroes and supervillains and stuff. I read so many superheroes and villains thing that I do like it when there's like a quirky or a different take on that. So that sounds wicked cool. Then I've got some which are like historical fiction / contemporary fiction. So first I've got For Your Memory Fades by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This is another book, the third in the Tales from the Cafe series, about a cafe in Tokyo, Japan, where there is a specific seat that when you sit there, you can travel backwards or forwards in time, but you have to drink the coffee before it gets cold while sitting in this chair, or you will be stuck in the past or the future wherever you traveled. Bittersweet stories, looking for probably tears, most likely. Then I've got Points North by Howard Frank Mosher. He is my favorite Vermont author. This is his last book. It was finished weeks before his death. He tells a brilliant, lovingly evoked stories that center around the Kinnison family, ranging over decades of their history in Vermont's fabled Northeast Kingdom. And the Kinnison family is a family that I've read a couple other books about them, and they're like really fascinating. So really expecting a good time and also probably crying again, most likely. And I would also like to read Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is another one actually that I barely started and didn't get that far into last year. I had a lot of those in the last couple of years. This is about Floor. Flora has a gift. She can predict to the day when someone is going to die. So when she decides she wants a living wake, a party to bring her family and community together to celebrate the long life she's led, her sisters are surprised. Has she foreseen her own death or someone else? Does she have other motives? She refused to tell her sisters, Matilda, Pastor, and Camilla. But Flora is not the only person with secrets. Her sisters are hiding things too, and the next generation's cousins Ona and Yadi face tumult of their own. Spending the 3 days prior to the wake, it traces the lives of each of the Marte women weaving together past and present, Santo Domingo and New York City. I love Elizabeth Acevedo's writing, but this sounds a little bit different than the other books of hers that I have read, and I think, my god, this is probably gonna make me, I imagine this one's probably gonna make me cry too. Possibly, I have no idea, but I'm thinking this is gonna be great because her writing is just always so beautiful. And the last in these kind of contemporary historical fiction books is Lake Woebegone Days by Garrison Keillor. I was holding this one off for summer because Keillor's writings, especially when they are specifically about Lake Woebegone, always feels like it needs to be read in summer. And maybe that's just because some of his other books I have such core memories of getting them out of my library back home during summer break from college, and reading them stretched out on the couch in my parents' living room. So yeah, I don't know. I have that memory in my head, so I just kind of associate his writing with summer overall. So this one is about the town's early history from the days of the Unitarian missionaries in New Albion College and its crazy founder, Dr. Watt, from the arrival of the first Norwegian Lutherans and German Catholics to the story of the living flag and wally old hard hands, Bunsen, and the statue of the unknown Norwegian is here, as is some of the narrator's own story, his sanctified brother and upbringing, his fascination with Catholics, and the notion of being somebody else, a Chiellorini. We see his failure as a scout, his embarrassment at wearing black kids and being picked last for baseball teams, and his shaky romances with Donna and Doreen. And surrounding him are all of Lake Woebegone's most memorable characters and places. So, Lake Woebegone is one of those towns or areas where I know a lot of the stories, but it is spans such a significant amount of time that I don't always remember everything. So I imagine this will take some time to get through, and I probably will also pause here and there to be wait a second, who's this person again? Yeah, because I've read a couple other books of his about Lake Woebegone, and then I have also listened to some of his Prairie Home Companion stories about Lake Woebegone, so yeah, I'll have to refresh my memory just a little bit. And then I have, the last bit is, well, one of the last bits is some sci-fi. So first off is, I think it's sci-fi? Technically, I think is what it is. This is a book, it might technically count for, maybe if I was participating in Garb August, it would count for that, but I don't usually participate in that. But I don't know, I found this in secondhand in one of my local bookstores, and I was like, the fuck is this? It is Tyrannosaur Canyon by Douglas Preston. It says, a moon rock missing for 30 years, 5 buckets of blood-soaked sand found in a New Mexico canyon, a scientist with ambition enough to kill, a monk who will redeem the world, a dark agency with a deadly mission, the greatest scientific discovery of all time, what firebolt from the galactic dark shattered the Earth eons ago and now hides in that remote cleft in the southwest U.S. known as Tyrannosaur Canyon. It says, the stunning new masterwork from the acclaimed best-selling author recently hailed by Publishers Weekly as better than Crichton. And I did not like Jurassic Park. So if this is better than Michael Crichton, I'm hoping, but I don't know, it just sounds so ridiculous, and all of the plots seem to be, pick a plot, dude. So I have no idea what to expect. But I feel like summer is the perfect time to read a book where you're just I don't know what the fuck is happening. That's the perfect time for that. Then I also have a sci-fi book that I have had sitting on my shelves for a long time. It is by a local-ish author, not local to my town, but local to Massachusetts anyway. It is called Consider. It is by Christy Acevedo, and this is following 17-year-old Alexandra Lucas. It says, as if Alexandra Lucas's anxiety disorder isn't enough, mysterious holograms suddenly appear, heralding the end of the world. They bring an ultimatum: heed the warning and step through a portal like vertex to safety, or stay and be destroyed by a comet they say is on collision course with the Earth. How's that for senior year stress? The holograms, claiming to be humans from the future, bring the promise of safety, but without the ability to verify their story, Alex is forced to consider what's best for her friends, family, and herself. To stay or go, a decision must be made. The deadline of the hologram's prophecy fast approaching, Alex feels as though she is living on a ticking time bomb until she discovers it is much, much worse. I have had this on my shelves for a long time, wanted to read it, and have not, because I had looked at the first chapter, and the description of the anxiety attack that was happening was a little too much for me at the time. But I am hoping, because I am now medicated, I'm having slightly better control over my own anxiety, that maybe I can actually get through this now. So, we'll see. Next up, Star Wars. So, I'm too lazy to go get it out of my bag, but my current lunchtime read is Heir to the Empire, which is the first of the Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn, and this is taking place 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi. So the rebellion and the Old Republic is back in the capital of the Old Republic, back in Coruscant, trying to rebuild as the New Republic and trying to jumpstart a democracy again. So Leia is very busy. They are trying to handle all of that. Han and her are married. She's expecting their children, twins, and she is practicing her own Jedi abilities, and Han and Chewie are both kind of helping her, but also trying to do their own thing to help the new government that is being established, and they keep having to go off on trips to do this. And Luke has been assisting as well, but he realizes that he has to go out into the galaxy and look for more possible Jedi to train, or people who are strong with the Force that he can train and try to rebuild the Jedi Temple, essentially, because at the moment he is the only Jedi, besides Leia and possibly her unborn kids, who might also be like very connected with the Force as well. Besides all of this going on, there are dregs of the Empire still hanging out there in space, and there's a big baddie amongst them who is ready for revenge. So all of this is going on. So that's book 1, and then there is also book 2, Dark Force Rising, and book 3, The Last Command. And yeah, I plan on basically reading these this summer. Like I said, that first one is my current lunchtime read, but I will be going on a little bit of a road trip, so I'm definitely bringing that and Dark Force Rising along with me, and see if I get through any of those. And then my last plans for the summer. I am continuing my trying to read through or do a reread of all of my manga collection and get through all of those, so I can see if there's any that I'm willing to part with. I think I discussed that like a month or two ago or whatever. That was something that I wanted to do, or actually it was probably before that, wasn't it? Anyway, I talked about that previously, that is something that I'm trying to do. I've gotten partway through that, and so yeah, I'm continuing on with that, and the next thing that I'm going to continue on with is my reread of Fruits Basket by Natsuki Takaya, and this is just one of my absolute favorite manga series of all time. I also love the anime. These are the collector's edition because I am crazy and I love this so much I need the collector's edition. So these have like 2 volumes in one. So yeah, this is the series that I'm going to be starting the summer with, and then I'll be going through everything else. I've been kind of like trying to move down shelf by shelf. So yeah, but that's what I'm starting June off with, is Fruits Basket. And then also I have a bunch of Victoria Holts that were my grandmother's, and I have had them on my shelves for years. Now, as a teenager, I had read a couple of them. Not that many of them, but I think I read like 3 of them, maybe 4. And I had attempted to get through a couple more a couple of years ago, and then I just kind of abandoned that in general. But I am thinking that I would like to possibly see what I can get through of them this summer, and maybe that will continue over into the fall, trying to get through the rest of these Victoria Holts, because I would like to actually get around to reading all of them. So the one I'm going to start off with is one that I've read a couple of times already. This was one that I loved when I was in high school. It is The Shivering Sands. I think it's maybe the most well-known of her books. It's definitely the one that I've heard people talk about the most. This is a novel of suspense about Caroline Verlaine, a young widow of a world-famous pianist. She comes to a legend-haunted Stacy estate to investigate the sudden disappearance of her sister Roma. As Caroline falls under the strange spell of the Stacy family and its macabre past, she becomes aware her sister must have discovered some deadly secret among the famous nearby ruins, a secret that probably cost her life and now threatens Caroline herself. This deals with, like, archaeology, creepy old manors, like, wicked, interesting, and this woman is also dealing with a lot of grief and stuff. It's like, yeah. Anyways, I ate this shit up when I was in high school. It's also talks very the British Museum, and is partly why I was fascinated with going there when I was younger. Like, I would love to go there someday. So anyway, yeah. I'm gonna start off with that one and hopefully make my way through as many of those as I can this summer. I am sure this list is really ambitious. I'm feeling pretty good about it right now, but who knows where my brain will be over the course of the summer, especially because I barely got through anything on my spring TBR. But I am trying to slow down on my fanfiction intake and make myself focus on actual copies of books again, so we'll see. Anyway, thank you guys for watching so much. Let me know if there are any of these books, if you're reading any of these, if you have read any of these and you're like, oh my god, you need to definitely prioritize this one over others, like, just let me know. Let me know if any of these are also on your list for the summer, or what you are looking to get done this summer, or get through this summer. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for always watching. If you're new here and would like to subscribe, please do so, and I will see you guys next time.